agenda?
B, Chairman's remarks.
I have none right at the moment.
C, approval of July 16th, 2020 meeting minutes.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
Move approval.
So moved.
All right, all
Barger,
those in
support.
favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Madam Clerk,
Item D1, under new business, an update from James Heath, Jay Shander, and Victoria Ennis Edwards regarding the status of the criminal justice complex.
thank you. James, are you on the line right now? I can't see the pictures. I'm using my phone.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Andrew Kandrievas here. I don't think Mr. Heath is available. I think he's off on some personal time. And we have Mr. Shander and Victoria Ennis are available, as is James Carter from Carter Fisher from Corporation Counsel.
okay. Mr. Carter, would you like to fill us in or take charge of James Heath's presentation?
Sure. So I believe that you're in receipt of the memorandum from Corporation Counsel that was sent out yesterday in the evening. I'll leave the bulk of the reporting on that matter to Jay Shander, since he's our construction expert. But there are a few highlights I wanted to touch on, and some also timely updates that we wanted to share.
Hold on just one second. Could I ask everyone to mute their phones if you're not speaking, because we're getting a lot of background noise. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, proceed.
Is that better?
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
Okay, great. So the project is definitely heating up, so to speak. We're getting more and more workers on site and doing more work hours on site every month throughout the summer. July, we set a new record again for work hours, and we're making very good progress on some of the bigger buildings on site, including the ADF and the courthouse. We're seeing a lot of progress there. So I think we're pretty pleased with that, and we're moving forward quite quickly in a lot of areas on the project, in spite of some delays from COVID. Speaking of delays from COVID, we've had a few supply chain issues. Most notably, we've had some delivery issues in terms of the pre-made cells that were due to be delivered later this month and going into September, and to be installed on site following that. We had about a 2-week delay due to COVID, a COVID outbreak in their manufacturing center there. And we've also had some delays with precast walls that were due to be delivered from, I believe, Western Michigan. So as far as we know, though, those delays will not be long-term impediments to the progress of the project. They're just short-term delays that are impacting delivery to the site, but the folks at Rock and Barton Malow assure us that they've been able to rework their schedule so that those delays will not impact construction completion or anything substantially. We're still scheduled to be done October 2022 as of now, although Rock and Barton Malow are still sharpening their pencils a little bit and trying to work out what other scheduling delays may have occurred as a result of the 2-month layoff roughly that we had due to COVID over the spring. But those are the big delays that we've heard about thus far. But again, we don't think that they're long-term impacts. Other than that, we did have some discussions with the City of Detroit, their public lighting department, and DTE about the substation that's on site, removal of the substation, and a discussion about the environmental work that we're going to have to do on site to remediate the leftovers of the substation. Currently, they're projecting that the substation, due to COVID and other delays, will not be powered down until March of 2022. We're not sure yet what kind of impact that has on us. We'd like to use that area for parking, and it may be possible that March of 2022 is still early enough for us to get the substation dismantled and turned into parking in a timely fashion before the complex opens, but we're certainly concerned and working with them to try to expedite that process as much as possible and make sure that everything done on site in terms of environmentals can get done as quickly as possible as well. So those are the major updates that we have in terms of scheduling this month. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Jay for a construction update.
You know, one thing, Carter, I wanted to ask quickly is I did notice in the environmental update that they continue to uncover new environmental hazards, and they're in the process of working with ROC, ascertaining the costs and the removal expenses. When will that they be able to tell us what that's going to be? I noticed it said later on we'd be getting a report.
Yeah, so we're still working with ROC to understand exactly what the impacts are and how they're budgeting their costs with their environmental consultant, who's the one that does most of their reporting for Eagle and the state, and also who's the one that does most of the remediation work. I believe that actually most of the deep digging, which is where we were running into a lot of impacted soils and hazardous water, is done now. So actually we're not removing tons of soil anymore or large containers of water. There's still a few containers on site to remediate rainfall that gets in places that might be hazardous, but I don't believe that we're really, I think we're past the major environmental impacts, other than the fact that we have not done the digging required to do the off-site lots yet, which won't be as deep as the digging required to do the building on site, but will probably also turn up some hazardous materials, or at least some materials that have to be remediated. So long answer short, we're still working with ROC on getting the exact figures, but I expect to have an update for you on the environmentals by next month's meeting of this committee at the latest, if not earlier. We're trying to work with ROC and CGL and Bart Mallow on putting together a report right now. So
Great.
we hope to get that to you soon.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to take this opportunity too to ask members of the committee if any of you have not received the report that was sent out last night. I just saw it this morning, and if you have not received it, please let my office know and we'll make sure you get it. But anyway, Carter, if you'd like to have our contractor on site, have him continue with the report.
Sure. Jay, if you're available to give a quick update, that would be great.
Sure, no problem. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Jay.
Just kind of an update on construction out here, and we'll go kind of in a clockwise motion and cover each building. The adult facility, the ADF, they are working on the fourth quadrant, erecting concrete panels and placing the the floors, and that is going really well. They should be done with the erection of the ADF probably by the end of the month. The slab on grade, they poured the 5th floor and the 4th floor they're working on. They've been working on those starting pours at 2 a.m. and they're usually poured out by probably 7 or 8 a.m. So that's really moving along quickly. Going down into the ADF, the base of it is mainly grading and putting in underground plumbing piping. So they're working from the top down. Moving over to the JDF, currently there's no work being done on the JDF. That'll begin as soon as the ADF is complete. So starting in September.
We got a delay there.
Okay. I'm still here. If you can hear me, I can hear you guys. Let me
Yeah,
turn off.
we can hear you, Jay.
Okay. I'll keep moving. Mr. Anderson, can you hear me? His camera's delayed. So
I
moving
think
through.
he might be having connection issues, but we all can hear you.
Okay, I'll keep moving along. Like I say, the juvenile detention facility will be begin erecting panels there probably the middle of September, once they uncover the footings that are already placed. And in the court, they are framing interior walls up on the second, third, and fourth levels, as well as installing ductwork, overhead mechanical piping, fire sprinkler piping. And on the north, east, south, actually all the way around, they're starting to install the curtain wall. The north end is probably 80% complete, along with the east and the south side, and they began placing the panels on the west side that have the windows in them. So it's really coming along there. The sheriff's office and the administration building, they're preparing the slab on deck pours in those areas. And the CUP building, the interior of the CUP, which is a central utility plant, is completed with all the concrete work within the building. So the equipment will be set soon by DTE. And the roof is beginning to be placed on the CUP building. And then the facility maintenance building is still just the structural steel, and the metal deck for the roof has been placed. They're doing a little bit of underground work in that building, but that's it. And then overall, the site, they're still tying in some outside utilities, but not a whole lot going on around the site because of access with concrete trucks and cranes. So it's going really well. We're expecting the delivery of the first set of cells. I think they're going to deliver 60 cells a day, and that'll begin on August 24th, so next week. And currently they've delivered the showers, and they are offloaded and on site at their laydown area, which I believe is a future parking area. That's about it on the construction side. There is equipment being placed. If you go by, you'll see equipment being placed on the courts as far as the air conditioning units on the roof. So it is moving along very quickly, and once the cells are delivered, they'll be placing those as soon as they start showing up. They're going to install those off of the west side of the facility, closest to the freeway, and then roll them in there and place them. And they've already started to set the shim packs, which are what goes underneath the cell in order for it to be level. And those already come completely fitted out with all the plumbing fixtures, and painting is all complete in those. Any questions on
Jay, I had one.
Sure.
First of all, apologize to everyone. I had some technical issues and I had to convert over to my computer. But anyway, I wanted to ask you, when do they anticipate being able to close in the building so they continue working through the winter? Is that going to be any issue, or based on supply chain and everything?
No, it shouldn't be an issue, but they are working very intently to try and close it in probably by the end of October. They showed us a 3D model during our recent progress meeting, and it showed all the curtain wall panels being completed on the courts. I believe it was by the middle of September, and then they will flip over to the sheriff's office and the admin building, placing those curtain walls September, October. As far as enclosing the ADF, it's pretty much pretty much enclosed except for the open rec deck windows. So that'll be completed. Same erection of all the panels, which would enclose that building by the end of August. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if you or Carter would be better to answer this question, but I know there was a potential of a change order as far as, I believe it was the kitchen in the jail. And I just wondered when we're going to see that.
Yeah, so we'll be issuing a notice shortly from the CEO to the chairwoman as per the agreement that we reached with the commission on the change order process, and we'll also forward you a copy of it, and we'd be happy to, you should have it by the next meeting, so at the next meeting we'd be happy to discuss it and go through it line item by line item if you prefer.
Great, okay, thank you. Victoria, is she still there with us?
Yes.
Oh, there- yeah. Would you
How are
like
you?
to report? Thank you.
All right, Victoria Ennis Edwards, Director of the Human Relations Division. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. Quick update. If you'll see the materials I sent right after the last meeting, we gave you the updated numbers. As I spoke of before, those numbers, you did see a slight dip, the goal being 51% for Wayne County labor. We dipped in the quarter down to 44%. And a lot of that was due to basically the skilled trades area we're in the moment. The majority of the work that you saw at the time, you saw in iron workers. That's an area there is a shortage, and that is also being addressed. As you have just heard from Carter, and you've also heard from Jay, now that we are getting into putting in walls, putting in cells, and more of the building is going up, you're going to see additional trades on the job. So we definitely anticipate our numbers going back up. And as well as this has an overlap, the report that you did see, just to go back, some of those also include the exact time during the coronavirus. So we know this is a false negative, so to speak. We do anticipate our next report that you'll see shortly for the next quarter. Our numbers are going to be going up. Currently, right now, I'm working with the Owner's Advocate, Barton Mallow, some of our other smaller outreach programs, trying to work with some of the second, third tier county-based, women-owned and minority-owned businesses to bid on these different levels of subcontracting, such as helping provide the labor for when they install the kitchen, some of the smaller parts of the kitchen that can be done locally that aren't specialty items, because you know the kitchen items that go into a commissary and jail kitchen are different than the ones you can just buy at Home Depot. Some of them are specialty, such as it has to be a solid piece of metal versus the 3 or 4 bracket parts that we normally could buy off the shelf. And a lot of that is because of safety. So we are still drilling down for the second through the fourth tiers of where we can provide additional opportunities. I actually have a meeting today at 2:00 to discuss this even further. We're still working with Barton Mallow. They've slowed down the last end I discussed before, the hardscapes and softscapes. We are still waiting to put some of the bids out for the landscaping, backfilling of dirt and grass. We know that we still have the parking lot areas. I know Carter talked about the digging and the remediation. Again, we know there's going to be backfilling, throwing seed, trying to figure out what kind of landscape we're going to have to put in. Those areas, as well as looking at not only the building of the box, but how we're going to take care of the box after the fact, such as supply chain, janitorial, any of those type of services. We are combing through that right now, trying to ensure that the totality of inclusion goes not just the building, but all the way through. And probably by the next meeting, I will be able to give you some more dates and hopefully some areas where we found additional opportunities. But right now, I will say everything is going well. We've been able to drill down and find several new vendors, or working with some of our current vendors and being able to carve out smaller pieces where they can participate. So right now, it seems to be all good news as far as participation, as well as actual labor, Our businesses, the Human Relations Division is still certifying businesses. We actually just participated last week with the NAACP and the TFC rollout to talk about the $1 billion commitment specifically to our Black businesses and our women-owned businesses. There will be a part 2 of that, and we're also using that as a way to foster other businesses and see where we can pull them in for this project, Hudson's, and any other project that is coming up.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thanks for what you're doing. You're really and providing us a lot of information. Any questions from members of the committee? Are there any questions from members of the committee? Seeing none, I have a couple of questions. You pretty much answered in your report, and Carter, your presentation, and Jay also. The only thing I think you addressed that the data completion is still expected to be October. Is it October 22?
Yes.
And I know there's a few things that could delay that a little bit, the power plant, but since it's parking lot, it might not, hopefully it wouldn't have a large impact on the date. I think that's pretty much it that I have. And I don't know if I'll ask once again if there's any committee members that have a question.
Mr. Commissioner, this is Mark Abbo.
Mark, I did want to call you. Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Sure, certainly.
And through the chair, I don't know if this is for Carter or for Jay, but I'm looking at the construction status report through draw number 23. And if you take the total costs flowing through the county, it's $475 million, deducting the interest and those amounts that are county earmarks. It looks like contractually we'll be awarding about $442 million. Do we have a sense of how much of that has actually been awarded and what is remaining of that $442 million?
I would have to check with M&B, but I believe that the report that we sent yesterday outlines that, at least roughly, but I will have to check. I don't know off the top of my head.
I didn't see that because that gives us a sense of where we stand on total overall cost. I know that the report talks about costs that have been expended, and we've expended about $147 million, so about 31%. But I was looking at more of through that process of how much has been awarded and comparing it to budget. If we could get a sense of where we stand, for at least from the county perspective, of what our total overall cost is going to be. Do we have that sense?
Again, I don't know off the top of my head. I will have to check back with M&B on some of those issues. In terms of the awards that have been made already, ROC does inform us very broadly about a total number of awards that have been made, and I think that they put it in the PowerPoint presentation or the slideshow that was attached to the yesterday's email as well. But in terms of how much of that is county money versus how much of that is ROC money and how much we're projected to spend overall in terms of contracting, I don't know right now. I would estimate that almost everything that they've contracted out right now is them using county money from the U.S. Bank account. So that's my first stab at it, but I will try to get back more information to you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'd appreciate, Carter, if you could make sure that I get that, as well as Mark Abbo.
Absolutely.
Mark, anything else?
No, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Any commissioners? Anyone? I guess what I should do is, Madam Clerk, if you could, next item on the agenda. Thanks to those of you that presented too today.
E, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Are there any such matters? Anyone? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Public comments.
We have any emails or any indication there's public comment? I'd ask if you could, Madam Clerk, if you could look and see if we've received any messages.
We haven't received any emails.
Okay. Seeing that we've not received any, I'll ask if you could unmute.
Number 1248.
Everyone's unmuted.
Listen,
2 hours is 2 hours.
any public comment? Is there anyone from the public that wishes to comment or has a question? Last call. Anyone from the public?
Was it good?
Being none, Madam Clerk, you could remute. And we'll move on.
Adjournment.
Clark is trying to tell us.
Move adjourn.
All right.
Support.
Got a motion and support to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.